We have relationship and we have relationship. Relationship is when relationship goes to hell and descends into madness and war. And then we have the in-betweens. It's like a long scale from total joy, love, and flow to total war and disconnection and suffering and pain and disaster. So I think most of us, we've tried different points on that scale at different times in our life. Now, today, specifically, the topic is not how to create a great relationship. The topic is how to learn from the school of relationship. I have a teacher who has this phrase, which I love. Enroll yourself in the school of relationship. If you're on a spiritual path, enroll yourself in the school of relationship. It's called lifelong learning. It's like a never-ending university. The school of relationship. So that's one perspective to have on relationship. And it's one perspective to have on life as a whole. Now, when we think of relationship as a school, it's quite helpful to have a different perspective than many of us had about school. The way the world works at the moment for most people is that when you're 6 or 7 years old, you start school. And most kids are super excited. Wow, what an adventure. Some kids are afraid, of course, but many or most kids find it super exciting going to school, meet other kids, and we're going to learn stuff, learn stuff. It is exciting to learn. And the 6-year-old, 7-year-old, even 8-year-old doesn't have the idea, I'm going to school to get good grades, get a good degree so I can go to university, have a good degree, get a good job, and be economically safe. No, most kids don't have this perspective on school. They have the perspective on school and learning that learning is fun. It's like kite surfing. I do kite surfing because it's fun. It's never going to make me rich or famous. I'm not going to win any competition. I'm too old. In any case, I don't like competitions in sports. I'm simply doing it for fun. And there are many needs met and qualities lived through that activity. And school and learning is intrinsically satisfying. It is fun in itself. So if we have this perspective on the school of relationship, it means I'm not learning in order to reach a goal exactly. I'm learning because I can. Because learning and growth is one of the possibilities I have in life. And I can learn many things, and I can discover and experience many things. And it actually doesn't matter if it's a friendship or if it's an intimate love relationship, any kind of relationship. Of course, the more intimate, the more challenge and the more learning and the more joy and the more hell. The less invested we are, the easier it is, but the benefit is also less. It's like going to the casino. I don't know if you go to the casino ever, but I do sometimes. And if I put 50 Rand or 5 euros on the table, it can be quite exciting. Maybe I win 50, maybe I lose 50. But if I put 5,000 or 500 euros on the table, it's a bit more exciting. So it's a bit like that with relationship. If it doesn't matter so much, this friendship, if I lose it or keep it, it's not so challenging, and I don't get so triggered. But if it matters a lot to me, the investment is high, so the intensity is higher, which means the triggers are stronger and the learning possibility is greater. So the joy is greater, the pain is greater, the learning is greater. So it's like this with everything in life. The less we invest, the less fear and challenge we have, but also the less expanded we become. If we play it safe, our life will be more limited. If we take some risk, our life will be more expanded. So I'm saying this just for the awareness that the fact that I get so triggered by the person I love the most is not a mistake. It is inbuilt. The closer I get to somebody, the more they mean to me, the deeper I'm touched in my being, my heart, and the more angry and upset I get. So it's a sign of engagement. The intensity of my feelings is a sign of my engagement, a sign of my bonding, maybe a sign of my love. So when I use the phrase to get triggered, it means the other person is not the cause of my feeling, but the other person is the trigger of my feeling. So, I mean, if I have a gun and I point it at a bottle and I push the trigger, the bullet comes out and the bottle is broken into pieces, smashed. It wasn't my finger that broke the bottle. It was the gun and the bullet. So just a little movement on my finger and a big impact over there. So it's like this. You tell me you're going to meet me next week on Friday and we're going to spend the weekend together. For 10 days, I'm looking forward to this romantic meeting. I haven't seen you for a month. So you're going to come at 7 o'clock on Friday. So I've been waiting now, buying food, making my home beautiful, etc. For 10 days, I'm excited about your visit at 7 o'clock on Friday. Then Friday at 6 o'clock, you call me and say, oh, I got busy. Sorry, I can't make it this weekend. Can we do it some other time instead? Now, you didn't shoot me with a gun. You didn't burn my house down. You just said, I can't come. I'll come next weekend instead. But possibly I might get extremely upset. It might just be possible. How many of you would get very upset if this happened? So it means the action was not so violent in itself, but how we take it can be very intense. So the trigger is out there and the reaction is caused by me. Let's take another example. let's say you're my friend and you ask me if you can borrow 1,000 euros just for 3 weeks. And I say, okay. And I give you 1,000 euros. 3 weeks pass and I don't hear anything about the money. And 6 weeks pass and I don't hear anything about the money. And then I ask, how about the money I lent to you? And they say, yeah, I meant to talk to you. Actually, my work didn't come through, so I'm actually broke. I'll try to pay it back to you maybe next month, I hope. So that's another trigger situation. Now, based on what I told you, what will I feel? Tell me what I will feel on the chat. And if you're not muted, please mute yourself. Let's see, what will I feel? I will feel disappointed, used, frustrated, angry, disrespected, disappointed, angry. Okay. So let me ask, was that all or on other suggestions? May feel taken for granted and disappointed. Taken for granted. Okay. Resentful. Okay. So now let me ask you, are you sure I will feel this? Yes or no? Answer on the chat. Yes or no? Are you sure? No. So you all agree with me. You do not know this. You can never know what anybody feels based on a trigger. This is very important to understand. What you will feel in a situation depends on you, not on the trigger. Unless we understand this principle, we will blame the trigger for our feeling. But this is like what's a good metaphor for that? It's like I drink 10 bottles of beer and I blame the beer for my hangover. That's not logical. I drank the beer, I created the hangover. The beer was the trigger, but it's not the perfect metaphor. But the point is, the trigger is never the cause of your feeling. We create our own feelings. This is very hard for people to understand and accept. And the more triggered we are, the harder it is to accept this principle. But only when we understand this principle can we go to the next step, which means learn something new. Because maybe when you tell me, my work didn't come through, I'll try to pay you next month. Maybe my reaction is, okay, that's fine. I don't need 1,000 euros now. Pay it back when you can. It's cool. Maybe I'm completely relaxed and understanding and compassionate. There is nothing triggered in me. That's perfectly possible. Now, so this is a very important thing that it's good to remind ourselves every time we're triggered. Okay, the trigger is not the cause. I am the cause. The trigger is contributing, but I am the main cause. it is very good news that I am the main cause, because if I am the main cause, then what? I have the chance to do something about it. I can't change others, but I can change my attitude. The next point, important point I want to make, is that the human being, when we were children, especially under the age of 7, the first 7 years, and of those years, especially the first 3 years, are extremely significant period in our life. During those first 7 years, we needed to receive many things from our parents or from our caretakers. It was an developmental need to receive certain things from our parents. If we didn't receive those things, we didn't grow properly. It's like not receiving necessary food. So, for instance, there was some cases where children in a children's home were completely neglected in Romania under Kosciuszko or something. And children who received food and drink but didn't receive any love, I mean babies, they died. Food and drink is not enough for a baby to survive. Love is also needed. Touch is also needed. So it's a developmental need. For a child, many things are needed to be received from the outside, and without it, we maybe die or we don't grow. Something in us is not growing the way it should. So developmental needs are necessary to be met from the outside when we are children. When we are adults, this no longer applies, because we don't have those developmental needs. In an ideal world, the developmental needs are met in childhood. Then we become adults, mature adults, and we are in touch with ourselves, and we are now not dependent on others supplying those kinds of needs. We are the love we are looking for. We are the peace we are looking for within. We can see ourselves. We don't need to be seen in a specific way. However, hardly anybody had all their developmental needs met. That means even I'm 60 years old, if my friend is judgmental towards me, it may hurt a lot. My reaction may be super intense. It's unreasonably intense for a mature 60-year-old to get so upset by a little judgment. In that moment, I am not a mature 60-year-old. I'm regressing back to my state as a child. Let's say I didn't receive positive support when I was a young child, which I actually had to have. A loving, positive mirroring, so that when it happens in grown-up age, my inner child reacts as if it is my parent not giving it to me. It is the inner child wound which is reacting. That is why the intensity of the reaction to a trigger can be so out of proportion to the actual trigger. Basically, we can say always when we have intense reactions, or most cases when we have an intense reaction, it is the inner child reacting. We are regressing to a state of a child. And based on that, we can become extremely angry and demanding and critical and so on, and shut down. In this situation, what we need to do is become the good parent to our own inner child. It is too late to receive it from the outside. The developmental need cannot be fully met from the outside once we have become adults. This is a very important principle. It means when I get triggered like that, it is an opportunity for inner child healing. I become the parent of that wounded child, and I can offer what the child was missing, and healing can happen, and I can grow. And once I have done that, then my heart can say, thank you for triggering me. I so much needed it for my healing. If we don't do the inner work, then we just suffer and we don't grow. We don't grow automatically by being triggered. So many people, they're just re-traumatized their entire life, but they don't grow, heal, or learn from it because they don't have the skill or knowledge how to embrace their inner child. So that's a very important principle. So I could speak for 2 more hours easily, but I'm going to stop here. Now we covered some very important principles. So just close your eyes for a moment and sense your body. Notice your breathing. Pay attention to what the impact is of what I have said. How does it affect you to hear this teaching?